Hey, what's going on everyone? My name is Garrett Blackwood. Welcome back to the vlog. It is Friday, 12:56 p.m, the day after Thanksgiving, and I'm here at the Hustler Casino. Cannot wait to play today. Super excited. I don't know if we're going to get a game though, because, you know, it's Thanksgiving and holidays and stuff like that. A lot of the pros are out of town, so it could just be me and all the fishies, which would be great. But if not, there's a 10-20 PLO that's starting, and I'm just going to fuck it and jump into that, and we can try and make a PLO vlog for the fun of it. But let's head in, see if we can get a game of No Limit Hold'em going. I'm excited for this today. Let's do it. All right, so it's the Friday after Thanksgiving. Really looking forward to playing today. I've had a really good week and I'm hoping to finish strong. I take my usual $10,000 out from the cashier just in case I need to rebuy or if a bigger game is going to start. You just never know here at the Hustler Casino. I head on over to table 29, seat 2. It's my regular seat. I sit here every day. We're missing a few of our regular game starters. There's no John, no Steve, no Charlie, no Peter. Absolutely delighted with this though because they're all better than me, but I am a bit worried that this game might not even get off the ground today. We're starting six-handed, which is always perilous, especially with the 5-5 having seats open. Some players don't like to play short, so they might leave and go there, but we get the game started and we actually start with a bomb pot and then a round of straddles. Good sign here. First real hand of the day comes for me after 15 minutes. I pick up Queen Jack offsuit in the cutoff. I make it $50 to go. The button makes the call, and then the small blind puts in the re-raise, but it's only to $150. Now, he's a very, very ABC player. This is going to be aces or kings almost always. The big blind is then going to cold call this 3-bet, and it's $100 more to me. I know the button is going to call here as well, so my implied odds are really good, and I am capable of not getting stacked on a board like Queen 8-3 6 deuce, so my reverse implied odds aren't that bad. I go ahead and make the call, as does the button. To the flop we go. It is Queen Jack. I cannot believe this. I nearly fall out my chair when it comes down. It checks to me and I kind of panic and just check, as does the button. We're going 4 ways to the turn. It's the 5 of clubs, flush draw now possible. So when it checks to me, I throw out a small bet of $175, just trying to keep someone in the pot with me here. The original 3-better makes the call. Everyone else folds. We go heads up to the river, which is another 5. One time let him be slow playing ace queen here. He checks to me and he's got around $700 behind, so I move all in, covering him by a few $100. He doesn't snap folds, and after a few seconds it's clear he's got a really, really tough spot. He's deep in the tank. I am willing him to put the chips in, and after 90 seconds he does make the fold. A little disappointed he didn't call it off there. He says that he folded a monster. Pretty sure that he had aces. It's a pretty good fold from him, but what a start to the day for me there with that flop full house, up $500 after just 15 minutes. A really good start to the day there, flopping a full house with that Queen Jack offsuit, but it was actually the only pot I won for the first 45 minutes or so, bleeding a little back before next up I'm in middle position with 5-4 of diamonds. Straddle is still on, so I raise it on up to $50. This is actually not a great raise at a table like this. Very loose, very passive, lots of multi-way flops. I think an MP with 5-4 diamonds we should just fold. Nevertheless, I do open to $50. The guy to my left makes the call, as does the straddle. We're going 3 ways to the flop here, which is King 8-8 rainbow with no diamonds. I wave the white flag here and check. Happy though to see it check all the way around. The turn is the 10 of clubs, flush draw on board now, and when the straddle checks, I decide to take a stab here, see if I can just take it down. We make a lot of better hands fold. We deny equity from hands like ace jack, and I don't expect either player to have a king here given the way they've both played so far. The hijack makes the call. The straddle folds. We go heads up to the river, which is the 4 of hearts. My hand is now a little too strong to bluff, so I check it on over to the hijack, and after a few seconds, he takes a stab for $160. Interesting spot now. There are a lot of misdraws that he can have, and I don't think he's going to check back a king on the flop all that often, so I decide that he must have a misdraw, and I make the hero call. He turns over his hand. He's got King 10 offsuit. What the heck am I doing? Correctly punished for that loose pre-flop open and that bad river call. Suddenly in the red for a couple of $100. Need to get myself focused here. Alright, good news, the straddle has held on, and what's more, the game is now full. We've got a very rare middle of the day soft table going on today. Sometimes the games here are fantastic, but they normally start out kind of tough and get softer as the day goes on. But we've got a rare middle of the day soft game, absolutely loving it, and next up I'm on the button with ace 8 of clubs. I raise it on up to $50. The small blind is going to put in the re-raise here, but it's only to $140. Very small size indeed. Very easy call for me here. We're going heads up to the flop, which is Queen 8-8 Rainbow. Really good start for me here, flopping 3 of a kind. My opponent is going to throw out a small c-bet for $100. I don't want to raise here and make him fold a hand like King Jack or Ace King or Pocket Tens or something like that. So I just smooth call. To the turn, it is a 5, which brings a full rainbow. Now, no flush draws possible. And my opponent bets again for $200. Same as the flop. I don't want to fold out his air. I want to keep his range nice and wide. So I just make the call. The river is a meaningless 3. And now my opponent decides to check. I eye up his stack. He's got about $1,100. I think shoving here is fine because his range is probably quite inelastic. But I decide to get a little milky and bet $700 instead. He does not snap fold, which is always good. He takes a few seconds, cuts out the chips, and after a few more seconds, he sticks them in with a kind of fuck it vibe going on. I show my hand and he sighs and mucks. Really not sure what his hero called with there. Maybe a hand like Pocket Jacks, maybe Ace King. Either way, it's a very nice pot coming my way, and I'm now up almost $800 for the day. Right, really great game so far here today. Everyone is having a fantastic time, myself included, and things could be getting even better for me when I look down at pocket aces. Middle position is raised to $50 and has been called in 2 spots, and I put in a healthy squeeze to $300. It folds back round to middle position, who despite getting a very intense massage, has managed to carve out 4 betting chips. Oh my god, please put them in the middle. He does in fact 4-bet. He makes it $750 to go. Now he's only got about $800 behind, and I know he's never 4-betting to this size and then folding, so I very quickly move all in. No point messing around here. And sure enough, he does make the call. I immediately turn my hand over and I ask if he wants to go once or twice. He sighs and shows me pocket kings, the classic no limit hold'em cooler here. We're gonna run it twice here. I actually run super well versus this guy. It's kind of sick. No danger on the first board, and the second board runs out very safe as well. 2 comfortable runouts for me there. And just like that, I win a pot worth $3,200, a sick cooler for my opponent, but it's gonna send me up over $2,000 profit for the day here. Interestingly enough, as I'm stacking up these chips, in the very next hand, I get dealt Ace King of Spades. There have been 2 limps for $20, and I raise to $150. The first limper makes the call for $125, and the dealer says to him, no, it's not $125, it's $150. He then asks the dealer if he can take it back and just folds. The dealer looks at me, and I think he's just joking, so I say, yeah, sure, no problem. And he takes it back and folds. He then says that he would have called for $125, but wants to fold for $150. I'm very surprised by that, but I really don't mind, as I'm still stacking up the chips from the last hand and really can't complain at all. All right, 2 hours into the session, which means leg stretching time. I'm really happy the game went today. I thought it wasn't going to go, but it's been fantastic. It's been very good. Lots of action. You know, sometimes the games here can be a little stale. Sometimes they can be amazing. And today they're fantastic. Sorry, I thought I was going to get told not to film, but I got a media pass. Yeah, really good day. I've got aces v kings. I'm up $2,200-ish so far. And I'm chilling. Let's keep it going, keep grinding it out, see if we can book a big win. I actually love these leg stretches every couple of hours. I come back feeling fresh and more likely to play well throughout the remainder of the session. 10 minutes after I take a break, I pick up a couple of queens in the hijack. I raise it on up to $50. The cutoff makes the call. He's quite a loose but quite passive player overall. He's not a blaster by any means. And the straddle makes the call as well. We go 3 ways to the flop, which is 10-3 deuce with 2 spades. Really good spot here versus 2 loose passive players. And I decide to c-bet here for $100. The cutoff is going to make the call. The straddle gets out the way. We're going heads up to the turn, which is another 3. Pretty good turn card for me here. And I want to keep building a pot. I bet again for $200. My opponent thinks for a couple of seconds and makes the call. To the river we go. It is an offsuit 5. Really nice run out here. And I decide to bet a really interesting size. I bet $275. I want to guarantee that my opponent calls with a 10 or a middling pocket pair. He's definitely the type that could fold a 10 if I absolutely blast it. And if he jams, I can just get away from my hand without too much hassle. It's a bit of a weird size, but I do really quite like it. It does serve both those purposes. My opponent is deep in the tank. I'm hoping for a call, but after a minute, I am puking in my mouth as he announces that he's all in. This is really disgusting. I asked for a count. The dealer pulls in the chips and it's only $610 more after the $275 bet from myself. I tanked for a while, resisting the urge to call. This is the problem with betting smaller to bet fold. I am a massive station and I struggle to follow through with my plan. Eventually though, I say to myself that I had a plan, I'm going to stick with it, and I make a very disciplined fold. I ask him if he was bluffing and he turns over queen nine of spades. The whole table is loving it. They're cheering, they're whooping, they're hollering, especially because I've made a bit of a song and dance about how tough my fold was. I feel like a bit of a moron, but it's a really nice moment for the guy who's just bluffed. The table is treating him like a hero, and to be fair, what a hero he is for making a play like that, especially versus me. I'm a bit of a calling station. Alright, 15 minutes after getting bluffed from the queen nine of spades, I'm now in the small blind with king queen offsuit. The cutoff has limped for $20. He's got around $550 to start the hand, and I put in the raise to $80 from the small blinds. The guy who's just bluffed calls from the middle blind, and the limper calls as well. We're going three ways to the flop here, which is king 4-3 rainbow. Good start for me here, flopping top pair. I decide to c-bet for $100. The player to my left makes the call, and then the limper puts in the raise to $215. I am thinking to myself, what the hell is happening today? He actually looks away from the table, takes a sip of water, and folds his arms. Three big tells of strength, all rolled into one weird 2-second moment. I absolutely puke in my mouth again and just sigh and fold top pair for essentially a min raise. The middle blind snap folds and the cutoff starts to turn his hand over. Please don't show me a bluff. Thank the Lord he's got pocket threes for a set. He wanted to raise and get value from a king, and I jokingly say, yeah, I folded a king. I initially said this was a joke, but the whole table laughed at me and said, there's no way you folded a king here. I said that I could pause my vlogging camera and prove it to them, and they say, go on then, prove it. But I'm like, nah, maybe not. I don't want to pause the camera. The whole table's laughing at me. They don't think I folded a king. Instead, I tell them that I'll put it on YouTube at 10 a.m. on Monday morning. So here it is, boys. As promised, I actually did fold a king. Alright, I was up 2k after 2 hours, and I was on break bragging to you guys about how big a day that I could potentially have here. And over the last few hours, I've just been super card dead, getting bluffed a bunch, losing a bunch of small pots in the process. Absolutely not complaining. This is just the way it goes sometimes. Next up is a perfect example of the bleed. I'm in the cutoff with ace-5 of hearts. Straddle has unfortunately died for a little while, so I'm raising to $30. I get 3 callers from the button, the middle blind, and the big blind. We go 4 ways to 8-7-7 with 2 clubs and 1 heart. I don't think a c-bet is good 4 ways here, so I check to the button, who just checks back. The turn is a queen of hearts, giving me the nut heart draw, so I decide to take a stab here for $90. The button decides to call. Both blinds get out the way. To the river, it's a red 9, but it's a diamond, not the heart I was looking for. I just give up and check. My opponent checks back, and I lose to king, queen offsuit. A very, very standard hand of poker, but it's the type of hand that has been happening over and over again for the last couple of hours. And truth be told, I'm starting to get a little frustrated and a little tired as the day wears on. The quality of my play deteriorating a little bit as we get deeper into the day. Need to get focused here, especially as the straddle is now back on. I'm a bit of a wizard at making this happen from time to time. Next up, I'm in the big blind with king 4 of hearts. It folds all the way around to me, and I raise it on up to $70. The straddle is going to make the call, and we see a flop of 5-5-3 rainbow with 1 heart. I check it on over to the straddle because this is not a great board for my range, and he takes a very small stab for $35. I have got backdoor galore in the form of straight draws and flush draws, and just a weak king high right now, so I decide to get a little funky and bust out the check raise to $140. Nice hand to do it with. I can turn a bunch of equity and barrel when I do so, but when he makes the call, the turn is the 9 of diamonds. I am really happy to just give up and check here. I want to continue if I pick up a flush draw or a straight draw, and I've got some flop straight draws that want to continue to barrel as well. Really happy to see him check back though. A little bit of hope as the river rolls off an offsuit ace. I do have some showdown value here, so I decide to check once more, and then my opponent fidgets for a little bit with his chips before betting out for $150. Now this is the guy that I folded an overpair to earlier, and now naturally after thinking about it for 60 seconds and putting him on exactly 7-6, I'm calling him with king high. What the hell am I doing with my life? This doesn't make any sense. He turns his hand over. He's got 6-3 of hearts for bottom pair. In all seriousness, this is a really, really bad river call for me. There have been a ton of standard bleed spots from me that are boring and I haven't included in the vlog, but they're well played hands at least. This is really not great, and it's also going to send me into red for the day. I'm now down $300. I kind of deserve it. I like the flop raise, I like the turn check, but this river call really isn't good enough. Once again, I need to get myself focused here. Okay, 15 minutes later, I am in the small blind with pocket queens for the second time today. Let's hope they go a little better than the last time. The hijack is raised to $55. A new reg that's been playing over the last few days makes it $160 to go on the button. And I put in the cold 4-bet from the small blind to $430. Now the action is on the middle blind, who doesn't fold immediately. If he shoves, I'm not loving life, but probably not folding. We're only $1,500 effective. He's not shoving. Instead, he's cold calling this cold 4-bet. I'm seeing a lot of unusual things today, and this is very much one of them. The hijack size and folds, and the button snap folds. We're going heads up to the flop here with 4 figures in the middle, praying for no overcards to my queens, and the dealer obliges in the form of 9 deuce deuce with 2 spades. I see bet here for $275, and the middle blind quickly moves all in. I don't love it. He might have me beat here with a pre-flop trap, but I, of course, make the call. We're running it twice for this pot. We're $3,000. No idea what I'm up against. Over to you, dealer.
You got anything? Oh, man.
All right, wild hand there with the pocket queens. I have seen some bizarre things all around today, but I absolutely love it. It's just what live poker is all about. I've been playing for about 7 hours or so now, down a few $100, but I'm back to playing well and not wailing about, calling rivers with king high, all that terrible stuff I was doing earlier. Next up, I'm in the hijack with 10-9 of clubs. Under the gun is raised to $70. I was going to re-raise here, but it's a slightly bigger open than this player normally makes, so I decide to just flat call the open instead. We go heads up to the flop, which is jack 8 deuce with 2 clubs. Big, big draw for me here. And when my opponent bets out for $125, I don't waste any time in putting in the raise. I make it $500 to go. Action back on my opponent now. He takes about a minute. He's pretending to count his stack. I know what's coming. He, of course, moves all in. I slam my chips into the middle in a bit of a jokey way and announce proudly that I've got 10 high. He asks if I want to go twice. I, of course, say yes. And he turns over black queens. This is a big, big pot coming. Can I get there? Over to you, dealer.
You got an overpair?
Yeah, of course. Oh.
That's me.
Absolute dream turn on both runouts for me there, and dream rivers as well because he turned equity on both boards, but it's a nasty cooler for my opponent. I'm definitely not complaining though. Dragging in this pot worth over $3,000 to send me back into profit for the day before heading out for another break to stretch my legs.
All right, another break after a couple of hours. I will hold my hands up. I don't think I played that well for the last couple of hours. Don't get me wrong, there are a lot of hands that you guys won't see, just really standard stuff where I just bleed. For example, 5, 5, 10, 20, I'm in the 20, small blind opens to 50, I call with Queen Jack. The flop comes down 9, 7, 6. He checks to me about $80, which is like half pot, and he like I bet $60, and he like raises to 150, and it's just like stuff like that over and over again, and I just have to like keep folding and folding. But there are a couple of hands which are not great. That King 4 check raise is sexy, but the river call is just fucking nonsense. I think maybe I got a little frustrated, which is not excusable, but is a little understandable. And then that last hand just before we come out on break, pinged it twice. I felt it coming. But yeah, we are now winning for the day. Didn't count it, don't know how much, but I was up a chunk and then I bled down to being down about 500. So I think I'm up about $1,000 exactly. I'm in the mood to grind though, man. It's 8 o'clock. I'm a little tired, but I'm in the mood to just sit here till like 2 in the morning or something. We'll see how long we last, but yeah, let's get back to it.
Right, back into the grind we go. I actually didn't count my stack after the last hand, so I don't know how much profit I've got exactly for the day, and I also couldn't count it before I play this next hand. I'm in the small blind with pocket jacks for the first time today.
The button is raised to $60 and I put in the 3-bet to $240. The middle blind is going to cold call this 3-bet, standard stuff for what's going on today. And once again, everyone else gets out the way. We're heads up to the flop here, which is ace, king, jack. I actually saw the ace and the king first, hated it, and then saw that beautiful jack to go with them. Beautiful flop here, and I think theory dictates that smaller bets are preferred here, but fuck that. I want to win a big pot, so I size up a little bit and see bet here for $250. Very happy to see the middle blind stick around in the form of a call. To the turn, it's the 8 of clubs flush draw now possible, and I want to keep building this pot, so I bet again, this time for $475. Once again, my opponent thinks for a few seconds before making the call. To the river, it is the 5 of clubs. The backdoor flush comes in, not loving life as much as I was just a few seconds ago, but still he's got about $1,300 behind and I'm never check folding. So I put on my big boy pants and move all in. Really happy to fade the snap call. And after about 20 seconds or so, the Queen 10 of Hearts window closes as well. He now starts talking to himself. I know I've got the best hand. I am willing him to make the call. He tells me that he's got a bluff catcher. I'm praying that he puts the chips in. He picks up his cards, then the calling chips, then his cards again, then the calling chips, and finally puts the chips in the middle. He makes the call. I turn my hand over. He nods, sighs, mucks his hand, back to back, massive pots for me, and out of nowhere, I'm going from being down a few $100 for the day to up around $3,000. Now, when I was on the break there, I told myself that when I came back to the table, I was going to grind all night. I was super in the mood for it, but after this big pot, I remembered that Man City versus Liverpool was starting at 4:30 a.m. local time, and I wanted to get up and watch it because between you and I, I've got a small fortune on Man City to win the league. So I racked up my chips and headed to the cashier so I could get home to bed and get up at 4:30 a.m. to watch the football. I was leaving a very, very soft game behind, but happy to book a win for $2,883 for the day. Really, really happy with that result.
Alright guys, we are done. So I actually took a break and then intended, well, I think my Uber might be here. He's here. Got to do this real quick. I took a break and intended to go back in and grind all night, but then I remembered Man City Liverpool starts at 4:30 a.m. local time tomorrow, so I've quit. I really hope it's not because I won a big stack and I was up 3k for the day and then decided to quit. I hope it's just a coincidence because I did want to grind all night and then I won a big stack and then I was like, oh shit, Man City Liverpool, and then Celtic Motherwell at 7 a.m. afterwards, to be fair. Right, my Uber's here. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed the show, click that sub button. Until next time, take it easy.